Welcome to Captives Over Cocktails, the only place where we serve up complex funding strategies with a twist of lime and a splash of attitude.
We're your hosts. I'm Lydia.
And I'm Ashley. And we're here to break down the world of captives. No jargon, no fluff, just real talk about what's working, what's not, and what you actually need to know to win in this space.
So think of this as your insider happy hour. Whether you're a seasoned broker, a captive curious advisor, or just here for the vibes, we've got something for you.
So grab a drink, turn up the volume, and let's dive into the stories, strategies, and straight up truths that are reshaping the funding landscape.
This is Captives Over Cocktails. Cheers.
Hi, Ethan. Welcome to Captives Over Cocktails.
Thanks for having me, ladies.
Of course. We're so happy you're here.
So happy to be
Lydia,
here.
nice to see you. I haven't seen you in person in a while, so.
Hey, Ash. Hey, Ethan.
Hey, ladies.
So this episode, we're going to build on the momentum that Ethan and I had this week with one of our webinars, which was about building blocks of business using a kind of specific captive program. So Ethan is very well versed in this space. He and I both former brokers, and we also both kind of found ourselves in niche industry situations where you can build blocks of business through kind of that strategy. So we have Ethan on to continue that momentum, to ask some more candid questions that we didn't get to touch on in the webinar. So Ethan, yes, welcome. We're really excited to talk about that.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here. You're two of my most favorite people in the entire world. I love what you're doing on Captives and Cocktails, and can't wait to dive in with you both.
Great.
Awesome.
Well, thank you. So Ethan, let's just start out. You hit a little bit about it yesterday. What are the benefits, just some general benefits of a block strategy?
The fastest one, the quickest one is truly the ability to grow quickly. It's to become a name brand known entity inside of a space, to become the go-to expert and specialist that people want to work with, right? So if you're looking at as a broker, I always thought about how do I differentiate myself in a very, very dense marketplace. I'm not just competing against other brokers in other shops. I'm competing against other brokers in my own shop to try to win business, grow a book, right? And everybody sells on product, right? But at the end of the day, everybody sells the same stuff. I have the best technology, I have the best people, and I know this thing better than anybody else. And I was looking for a way to cut through that static. And I found that leaning into a specialty, by specialty, I'm meaning an industry, it allowed me to differentiate myself.
I think that's so funny about what you said, because I don't know that anyone really says that out loud about how you're technically competing with people in your shop. That's such a taboo subject about how your peers are also your competitors.
Frenemies, right?
Yeah, right. And you all have access to the same resources, to say your USI or your Gallagher or your regional. I mean, even worse when you're regional, I feel because you don't have access to the big tools that kind of some of those larger shops offer. So yeah, that's an interesting point, to find your niche within your own brokerage, because you are getting access to the same leads. You're getting access to all the same 5,500 information, all of that.
We're
really
all on the same LinkedIn, posting all the same stuff, right? On the socials.
So the same stuff. Yeah, that's a great way to say.
So what do you do, right? And that's how I got into it, was almost by accident. I took a role at a PNC shop that specialized in an industry. They were looking to stand up an EB practice. So I was almost forced into it. But what I found from it was that we grew really quickly, because I started to understand the industry. I started speaking the industry terms. I understood what was really important to the leadership of those companies, but from their lens, right? So I stopped talking in the dialect of insurance, and I started using their dialect and started talking about what was important to them and understanding how their people worked, how they thought about it. And then it became a natural byproduct, was to build a program that was custom built for their industry. What we talked about yesterday a little bit was the fact that other types of insurance are already being sold and bought this way. For whatever reason, employee benefits just simply isn't. So why not connect those dots, and what I would say is shorten the sales cycle and say, Mr. Buyer, you're already buying programmatically over here, over here, over here. Why wouldn't you do it here too? Right? And getting the law of large numbers and the benefits of having at mass, what you can't do, 100 or 200 life employer can't do what we can do when we have 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 lives, and the risk is all the same. So we can underwrite it the same. We can build the cost containment program the same. And you're getting those short-term immediate benefits, savings, right? But you're getting the long-term trend savings too, because we know what to expect every time we underwrite.
Right.
So how do you think, I mean, you were a benefit advisor, Ashley, you were too. How do you think an advisor best can start initiating these conversations once they've identified their right employer groups?
I think typically for me, actually, I'd be curious for you as well. But for me, I started with my in-force clients that I'd already built relationship and trust with,
Yeah.
and I would do a roundtable of some level and say, guys, here's where the puck's going, right? Here's what I see. Associations are building these, industries are building these. I want to do the same, and I want to start with you guys. And here's what I think the benefits are going to be: X, Y, Z, W.
Yeah.
Would you have interest in going and being my, the pilot or the entry level, whatever it is, ground floor, spin it, right, at some fashion, but say, we already have trust, right? We're working together. Let's start here. And then let's go build. Let's go do this together. And here are the benefits.
Yeah, I think there's two different avenues, right? Like if you're a producer who's been in this space for a while and you already have a book and you do have a large amount of clients you can already kind of grab from, that's great. And you can start there and kind of see, which commonalities they have. And if you have any industries you've already somehow fallen into, like Ethan said, auto, like I fell into HVAC plumbing, like just randomly really resonated well there. It's my grandfather's dream. And so like, yes, like if you can look at your very book, if you're already like 5 to 7 years in, but I think if you're just starting out, like you can actually focus your efforts, like you actually almost have an advantage, right? Because you can go after, start building that, get them in as clients, see what for the first year or two kind of, their industry niches are and their benefits packages and all that. And you can learn them and then implement that. So like there's two avenues kind of where you can do that. And I think I want to go back to what you said, Ethan, about like the associations and buying as a union. Like captive is such a industry specific term, it feels like, because it is a no-brainer to buy things collectively and to join a group. Like people do it across every industry. It's like coalitions, unions, like even just like, do you want to join this group on LinkedIn where people are talking about best practices? Like people naturally gravitate to building things with other people because you're stronger as a group. But like that in benefits is like people shy away from that because they think that like their benefits package is like so unique to them. And that's true. Like designing your plan is unique to you. But obviously collectively as like a large group of law, like the law of large numbers, it makes more sense to band together. Like that's almost like human instinct, which is so funny to me that,
and I think the thing, the pieces that's missed, I think, on the general buying public is they're already in a pool. They're already buying in a risk pool today. They just it's never been framed that way. Now they're in a septic pool that's not managed, right? And it's performing the worst that it could perform at the highest cost that it can perform at. But they're already doing it. Again, I think we need to simplify our terminology and create those links and help them understand you're already doing this, guys. You're just not doing it with transparency and control. Sorry,
like the two things. No. So I just want to build on that because like the two things, like you're saying, like yes, the group, and then they hear like cost management. They're like, oh, that's kind of scary. But I just did a LinkedIn post on this, like Cigna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, United, they have gamified cost management. You're already doing it. You don't even know it. So it's like they've just silently done it at their own benefit. Like
that's the piece,
I remember working for Cigna. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, you're right on. The difference is the piece, the last sentence, which is they're doing it for their own benefit. In a captive model, we're able to construct that to the benefit of the employer and employees.
Yes.
Right? And that's the biggest difference is transparency and control.
Right. Yeah. I call it less like cost management when I'm talking to employers and more like claims awareness. Like, like because cost management has such a negative connotation in my mind because of the human side of it that we talk about all the time kind of at ClearPoint, which I love that's one of our differentiators, like empathy at the forefront, because it is claims awareness in my mind and directing it to a better solution. It's not, I mean, yes, it might have a better cost outcome, but it doesn't mean lesser care. It's just claims awareness in my mind and kind of steerage, right? Like that's another term that I don't hate. So yeah. Okay, but back to blocks.
Back to blocks.
Back to blocks.
I digress.
Lydia just asked, like, what companies make good candidates for a block? Like, how do you not industry wise necessarily, but like, what are those like qualities?
I look at a couple of things. One, are you publicly or privately held? I think you need to be privately held. The owners need to have buying control. I also look at the psychographics, meaning, are you paternalistic? Do you truly care about your employees? Do you have tenured, long-standing relationships? Do the people know the names of their people?
Right.
And their family members, typically?
Right.
Those are the people we're going to tie into. Also, are they sophisticated business operators? Do they understand when you talk about P&L and you talk about fixed cost and cost control and cost management, do they lean into those conversations? Right? Are they willing to have a financial impact conversation of the long-term implication of trend management and the future value of their business and the value when they want to exit based on a top 3 spend? Those are the sort of employers. So it's not even industry. It is who are the leaders of these organizations, and do they think similarly? I think more often than not, if you're in an industry and you're successful, you tend to do it the same sort of way, by and large. Again, I'm looking for industries that have high head count, not high material count. So, for example, a farming company might have a lot of trucks and implements, but they don't have a lot of people, right? Yeah. We need headcount to do what we do. So there's a lot of core commonalities there. I look for funding type, right? And that's typically driven by size. And in the mid-market, what's great is that not a lot of people have migrated over yet. So I'm typically looking for fully insured at size that you can get claims. What I really love is level funded transition, because they already understand self-funding at a basic level, so I don't have to teach them that. They understand claims access at a basic level, and I can point to specifically pharmacy and outpatient spend in year 1 and give them something tangible to buy into. And again, that comes back to building the program. We're going to give you something very, very tangible year 1 that you can go after and get high impact, low disruption. And you can really, you can sink your teeth into something like that versus selling stop loss, which is an amorphous idea.
Yeah. And I want benefit advisors who are listening. I think it's important. Here's where being a consultative benefit advisor is incredibly important, because so many groups can be passed over as not having those qualities if they don't have the right benefit advisor. There's so many groups that I took on that thought they were just passive buyers of insurance until you start to ask them the right questions. There's really onus on your strategy to bring that out of them, because of course, if you're just used to purchasing insurance year over year in a fully insured arrangement, that's all you know. It's not that you can't aspire to be more paternalistic or forward thinking or any of those things. So asking the right questions is incredibly important. I know we only have like a few minutes left. So Lydia, is there anything else that you think is really important to pull out of this conversation?
Yeah, I look at ClearPoint Health. I look at the block strategy, and you know, as we've been talking, not everyone knows how to have that conversation, and not everyone understands the benefit. I look at Ethan, Ashley, I look at you as subject matter experts on having the conversations with benefit advisors so they can best have them with their employers, with their clients. As we know, it's not a prospecting tool. Captive is an awful prospecting tool. And so I think the important thing to consider, if you have questions about what is a block, hey, I have a like-minded group of employers that are already my clients. I think this could be a strategy for me, but I'm not sure where to start. I would encourage, reach out to Ashley, reach out to myself, reach out to Ethan, because they're going to help you navigate in a very consultative way on how to best have those conversations.
I agree. And I would say my only parting thought here is it doesn't have to be limited to industry. I was thinking about this, Ashley, after our conversation yesterday. A block can also look like a Cigna level funded block that you're looking to do something next with.
Good point.
Right. And I'm picking on Cigna, but let's just say a level funded block. You specialize in that. You grew a block of business in that. You're recognizing it's time to do something with the claims data because that's your responsibility as an advanced advisor. We can also work on those cases as well. So it can be heterogeneous from the risk, but they all look the same because they're all structured the same, but we can do something with it. So I wanted to add that. We didn't get to that yesterday. And I think it's really important to hit on that as well.
Perfect.
Yeah, great point. I think obviously homogeneous is just a little bit easier if you're starting out, like, so like identify, right? But that isn't like a very good point. Especially with all the qualities, forward thinking, all of that, you can certainly build a block that way. Awesome. Yeah. Echoing Lydia, if anyone has any questions, ever wants guidance, we can help build that block. We can help speak about strategy, recommend. And last thing, Ethan, what is an ideal block size? Because I think everyone thinks it's larger than it is. Let's just touch on that, and then we'll cheers to blocks.
Yeah, not as big as you think, right? Good news. So we're looking for about 1,000 lives to enter as a block. And that can look 4 to 6 groups. You know, that's typically what we're seeing. So around 150, 200 lives per, get us up to 1,000. And that's where we can kick off and then grow from there.
Beautiful. Love that. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us. Although great.
Cheers, ladies. As always.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you guys.
Thanks.
See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.